Hi everyone, my name is Robin Lewis, and in this video I'm going to be making a miter saw station using a frame and panel method I haven't seen very much of, although I'm fairly confident it's going to work. The first thing I need is to mill up some stock for the legs, and I'll use some structural pine for that. So the idea here is I want to create a frame and panel look for the two sides of the cabinet, but instead of cutting a groove through the middle, what I'm going to try is just cutting a rebate down the inside of the two legs. That way it's going to be a lot simpler because you're just cutting a rebate, and it's also going to give you a nice flat internal surface that you can attach anything like drawer hardware, drawer slides, or any shelf supports. And my goal is to make the join where the legs meet the panel as tight as possible so I can use that panel as my square reference. So squeeze the legs into that and the panel will dictate the squareness. Now again, I haven't actually seen too many people doing this, but I'm guessing it's going to work. So we'll see how this goes. So I've kind of changed my mind on where I'm going with this. I was originally going to put in a shelf, and the shelf support was going to span from the one leg to the other. But looking at this now, I've changed my mind. I'm actually going to do drawers in this, so I need to get a drawer slide attached. So that means I've got to add a second support that the drawer slide can screw into, because the drawer slide doesn't extend from the front to the back of the cabinet. Now that I've got the bottom rail supports in place, I need to put another set further up. That's going to be for the drawers above. And the way I'm going to do that is with this board. This is around 350 mil wide. I can sit that on top like that, and then grab my neck support and screw that in place like that. This way I get rid of the tape measure, which invariably ends up with some degree of difference when you're measuring. Having an actual board like this that you can use the same board for each set as you work your way along just reduces that chance of error creeping in. All of the drawers are now fitting in mostly correct except for one. I had to make a bit of an adjustment over here. You can see these shims that I've put in. This drawer wasn't fitting in the reveal quite right. So the distance between the front of the drawer and this rail wasn't the same across on this particular drawer, which is what these shims are here for. It just sort of twists the box slightly to make that reveal correct. But now that that's been taken care of, I can go back to beefing up all of these boxes, putting in more screws, basically just strengthening this up. Bit of sanding, finish the boxes, and then it's onto the fronts. So I live on a floodplain, and this workshop has already been flooded twice since I moved into this house. That's why all of my tools or workbenches are elevated, most of them with casters. Yeah. But I think for this, I'm not going to go with casters because the floor where it's going in is extremely uneven. So instead, I'm going to try and make my own leveling feet. These are just some bolts with some rubber feet pushed over them. These rubber feet, if I'm not mistaken, are used for walking frames. I also want to do a quick shout out to Vic from Down Under Woodworks. He was the inspiration behind these feet. He's got a really interesting video which I'll link to about how he creates his leveling feet. Now pretty much all miter saw stations have a fence and a stop block, the stop block being used to make repeatable cuts. And to create that, they generally all use a bit of T-track like this. So generally this is attached to a fence. So what I'm going to do to try and simplify this process is just remove the fence altogether and screw this down to my workbench and use this as the fence. It's quite a nice straight piece of aluminium, so it's going to work quite well as a fence, and I can just attach the stop block to this, which slides back and forth. So I'm hoping that's going to work to just remove one step while still being able to have that fence set up. I've got a couple of offcuts here that I've been going through to create the stop block, and I've settled on this piece of Mortimer ash. It's got a live edge, which I think might make it look kind of cool. I've just posted a picture of this fence on Instagram, and I got the comment that I was expecting, which is, why didn't you recess the fence into your workbench? The idea being then that you've got more space to use the bench as a bench. But the whole point is, I don't want this to be used for anything except for timber sliding across. And I know that if this bench space has space, then I'm opening it up to junk being collected. The other idea is that down the line I want to put in some shelves or drawer units just behind it. So this workbench is never going to be free real estate. So that is the miter saw station. I hope you guys got some inspiration or ideas out of this. So far, I'm really happy with how it's turned out, although I guess the real test is going to be using it for the next couple of weeks. My name is Robin Lewis. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. And if you want to see more of these videos, I'd like to encourage you to subscribe. And if you do, go ahead and click on that bell icon. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.